The big question we have is Salt Lake City and is Utah a sanctuary state?
It is designated by ICE as a sanctuary state.
Not illegal, but I mean, I have papers, but yes.
But we are not a sanctuary state, and people who spread that are spreading falsehoods.
Do you feel like you're getting placed behind the people that are crossing in illegally?
Absolutely.
Today we are in the state of Utah. It is reported that Salt Lake City is a sanctuary city. However, there are also other reports that are saying it is not a sanctuary city. However, we have met many migrants that are saying they are coming here to Utah. So Brooker T. Jones, what's going on here in Salt Lake City?
In Salt Lake City, we're here right now because we have met people literally at the border and at the airport that say they are coming to Salt Lake City. We've also done a lot of research, and some articles say, yeah, Salt Lake's a sanctuary city. Others say, no, it is absolutely not a sanctuary city. But the other day I was flying on the airplane, and about 3/4 of that airplane was full of migrants coming into Salt Lake. So we want to see, we need to really get down to the bottom of it as to if this is a sanctuary city or not, because clearly migrants are coming.
The governor of Utah, Governor Cox, has claimed that this is not a sanctuary city. However, other reports and ICE agents have said that it is a sanctuary city. So today we're going to be asking locals and be talking to people here inside the Capitol and finding the migrants here inside Salt Lake City to figure out if Salt Lake City really is the secret sanctuary city of America. A sanctuary city is a place where local governments limit the access of federal immigration authorities in order to protect undocumented immigrants living in the city. For example, New York City and Chicago cannot deport illegal immigrants living in their cities because they are a sanctuary city. Utah was classified as a sanctuary state by U.S. immigration because ICE was not allowed to detain illegal immigrants for more than 72 hours, and the state also gives benefits to undocumented immigrants such as driving privilege cards, medical insurance, in-state college tuition, and occupational licensing. We're going into the Capitol right now to go see if we can find some state representative, governor, whoever it may be. I walked into the Capitol and met this man who works with the governor, and this is what he said when I asked him the question. With all the migrants that are coming in here,
Yeah.
they said that Salt Lake City is a sanctuary city.
Yeah, absolutely not. They've been spreading that lie, and it's just simply not the case. Utah's not a sanctuary state. There was an article in yesterday's Deseret News that highlighted that and pointed that out. So we're certainly not a sanctuary state. We're one that has accepted legal immigrants over time, but we are not a sanctuary state. And people who spread that are spreading falsehoods.
Okay, so Salt Lake City is not a sanctuary city.
Nope.
What's your guys' message to the migrants that are coming here claiming that it is a sanctuary city?
Well, we're not a sanctuary city, we're not a sanctuary state, and our message is, if you're here illegally, you need to return to the country from where you came from and follow the right process to get to come to America. But we're a state that believes in supporting the law. Our governor's been down with Governor Abbott at the border, and we want to get that message out. There's a right way to try to come into our country. There's a wrong way to come into our country. And Utah is not a sanctuary state.
In Utah this year, there will be elections for potentially a new governor, and with the current governor denying the reports of Utah being a sanctuary state, one of the other candidates is claiming that Utah is indeed a sanctuary state and has been outspoken on X about the issue. He has even gone as far as calling the current governor of Utah a Gavin Newsom 2.0. Later in this video, I will be meeting with governor candidate Phil Nyman to give him the opportunity to share if Utah really is a sanctuary state or if this is all political shenanigans to deceive the people and receive more votes. However, before meeting with Phil, I wanted to ask locals if they knew if Utah was a sanctuary state. Is Salt Lake City a sanctuary city?
A sanctuary city, what do you mean by that? Like some a safe zone or something?
Yeah, is it a place where a lot of migrants come?
I would say yes, either passing through or just roots in general. Like I have roots here, a lot of family, so I came straight back. Not illegal, but I mean, I have papers, but yes, I would say it's a sanctuary for most of us.
Is Salt Lake City a sanctuary city?
Yes.
Do you know if Salt Lake City or Utah is considered a sanctuary state?
I have no idea.
Do you know if it's classified as a sanctuary city here?
I have no idea one way or the other on that.
Have you guys seen an influx of migrants here inside the city of Salt Lake?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where are they going?
I really don't know.
And to find out where they were hiding all these migrants, I went to a local city center and they gave me this paper with all. We first went to a shelter on the south side of town to see if we could find migrants inside or around the shelter. We're here at one of the homeless shelters that has also been converted to house migrants, correct?
That's correct, absolutely. We accept all faiths, religions, sexual orientations, migrant status. We have I'm not an employee here. Don't ask, don't tell. Or if they do ask, they don't discriminate.
And are there a lot of migrants that are being housed here inside the shelter?
I don't know exactly for sure, but I do have reasonable suspicion based upon one's character and behavior that may be immigrating from another country such as Africa or other continents such as Africa. So we have some people from Africa, a lot of good people, a lot of really good, friendly people, and I suspect we may have people from Latin America, mostly from Mexico or Peru, no Brazilians, but we may have one person from Eastern Europe. I met one from, was it Moldova or not Montenegro? I forgot what it was. Very good guy, Milan, very good guy, very friendly, very nice, very elite, very proper, very moral, you know, more moral than a lot of the people I met here.
What kind of benefits do the migrants receive here inside this shelter?
Well, here we got 3 hots and a cot. Basically, you have 3 meals a day. If you wish to stay for 3 meals a day, you don't have to pay for it. We try to get people housing here, regardless of your immigration status. They don't ask, I don't think, for passport or anything like that. They may want a birth certificate or something like that to verify ID, but they try to get you a ID if you wish to get one. We have Utah state law that allows for someone like me to get a Utah state ID, provided that Social Security card, which they'll help you get, and a birth certificate, which they'll help you get here at the shelter. And it's very good actually to help people back on their feet for those who want it. But you have to want it. You have to want it tooth and nail. You have to put forth the diligence and be moral enough to say, I want to get help. I'm choosing to get help.
Specifically with the migrants that are coming over from the border, that are crossing over illegally through El Paso from Texas, what's happening with them here inside the shelter?
Inside the shelter, they're helping them.
Hey, what's up, Utah? And welcome back to We Are the People Radio. It's your host, Jason Preston. And again, with Alexia, she's back in action in the fight.
For now.
Fighting crime. we're always happy to have her helping fight crime, especially organized crime at the governmental level of these politicians.
Governmental level, I like that.
You like that? That sounds very sophisticated.
You're just making up words now. You're just adding syllables.
I'm just trying to be like Cox, just making stuff up. You know what I mean? We're not a sanctuary city, even though we can, even though everything we're doing is sanctuary, I can say whatever I want to say.
Yeah, honestly, this state is a full-time job, so
it's insane,
and it's a thankless job. So it's great to have people help support expose this. We've had Adam Bartholomew, Tiffany Barker, citizen journalist here, and now we're just so honored to have Nick Shirley with us from the video you just saw. Then the youth, I'll tell you, what's coming out right now, they're awesome.
Yeah. So that video you just saw, I mean, everyone knew Utah's a sanctuary city, and again, shout out to Staggs because he's the one that really exposed it, and ever since he exposed it, it's like the lid can't come off. And
go back and watch that show if you can, where we delve into the ICE memo that he uncovered. It's a great show.
Mm-hmm. But and then this, Nick Shirley comes out and does this video that you guys just saw, and I mean, that's what's awesome, because everyone says, "Oh, I see it. We see buses. We see this," and we always tell people, "Go get video. Go document it." And I want to say props to Nick Shirley. And guess what? Like Alexia said, we got him here. Nick Shirley, how are you, man?
Welcome to the show.
Really happy to be here.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, we are very happy that you exposed this, that you went out and I mean, how long did it take you to go out and do all that journalism, all those interviews?
Only a day, from basically 9 to 5 at night, and stuff was just popping up like crazy.
Yeah, it probably is like low-hanging fruit at this point. You see, what are we up to, 10 million people that have already crossed the border? It makes me wonder, like, oh, well, how long before it affects our daily life, in Happy Valley, in Utah County? And the answer is, I guess we're starting to see it now. If you only need to go out for a day and you find that many people.
Yeah, there's literally thousands of people here in Utah that are coming in. And have you guys been on a plane lately here inside Salt Lake City? Mm-hmm. If you go to the airport, it's kind of just like it's like a madhouse, because there's so many people that are there that don't speak English, that the lines are booked. Like, you have to wait forever, and all the airplanes are always filled with migrants when I come back here to Utah.
So, Nick, tell us, how can people find you? Are you just doing this on your own? What is your website? What is your YouTube channel?
Yeah, so everything I do is underneath Nick Shirley, and there right now I'm doing a lot of videos on like what's going on with the migrant crisis and here in America and other topics here inside the country. And I'm originally from Utah, and I had been coming on flights home from Utah, and I met many migrants at the United States border in New York City, and a lot of them said they're coming here to Utah. And when I've done my research, Utah says it's a sanctuary city on some maps, and on other maps it is not. And so I wanted to do a video to show like if Salt Lake City really is a sanctuary city. And it turns out ICE once declared Utah as a sanctuary state. However, the current governor says it's not. And so I really want to see, like, are these people receiving the same benefits that migrants receive in New York City? Are they receiving free rent? Are they receiving free money? And so I came here to Utah to do a video on that. And it's not as bad as the major cities like New York City and Chicago. However, there's still I've heard over 180,000 migrants have came here illegally from the border.
I've actually heard double that. Just last year alone, we've heard closer to 300,000.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Once you in Utah with like the Utah Valley, like that's all pretty much primarily just people that are residents. But if you leave like I-15 and you start going to the other places, there's just tons of migrants.
So first off, I love that you went to the Capitol and you talked to who was it you spoke with? Do you remember his name?
I don't know. What was the name?
He's Cox's personal bodyguard. He's the same guy that actually stopped you from speaking with him last year. If you watched that video, you have a lot of good videos to catch up on from We Are the People. But
yeah, it sounds like I do. And he that guy, I don't know who he was, but it was weird because we did the interview and I started like first to like lead into like is Utah sanctuary city. I asked him like, oh, like what's the history of Utah, to try to get him to like open up to me. And then as soon as I asked him the sanctuary city question, like sanctuary city,
Yeah, absolutely not.
Like,
They've been.
We are not a sanctuary city, and he got very defensive.
So
personality just flipped like that.
So clearly, you know, we are, right? I mean, the policies are all sanctuary. Why do you think that the governor, because the governor's been very adamant, and you know these politicians are so sensitive and adamant, trying to say we're not? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it all comes down to the re-election they're going to do here in Utah with the governor. I don't know a ton about the government here inside Utah. However, I think everything has to do with elections at the end of the day, and it doesn't look good if hundreds of thousands of people are coming here and nobody's talking about it. And then when somebody does talk about it, kind of expose what's going on. It's like, oh crap, like we're gonna lose. Maybe we'll lose some voters.
Yeah, I thought one of the lines that was very interesting that he was saying, Maurer, you said, Alexia?
Yeah, I think it's Matt Maurer.
Matt Maurer says, people who spread this are spreading falsehoods, and they're spreading a lie. I don't understand that. Like, it seems like, are we being gaslit?
Yeah, I think that they obviously just don't want people to know what's actually going on, and they're trying to hide it because they've let so many people in, and at this point it's like, what? Like, why do we do that, I think? And now they're like, okay, well, we need to hide it, and the only way we can do that is by getting in a defensive mode.
Alexia, I don't know, you're looking up something. I'd love to see some of the governors, because don't you get his emails too? Because the governor's been emailing people saying, you know, denying this. And it's just interesting because that's a Marxist tactic. I don't know if you ever look into Marxism much, but you know, one of the Marxist strategies is to blame your opponent of what you're doing. And it says people who are doing it are spreading falsehoods. And it's like, wait a minute, are we spreading falsehoods or are you spreading the falsehood?
Mm-hmm. It's just people trying to control their own narrative. And as they are like the top dogs here in the country, in the state, as being like the governor, like they obviously think that they can control the narrative. However, when people like us share things and we probably get more views than mainstream media, that's where the narrative kind of flips, and then they try to take back control.
Daniel, I hate to put you on the spot. I'm sure you haven't seen the video where Jason actually confronted the governor of last state convention, because it actually is very parallel.
The smart cities you guys are working on. What smart cities? I don't know what smart city. Come join us for Sandback when they're pointing out. It's not a smart city. I don't know what you're talking about. You don't know smart city? No. We're going. Sure. Thanks.
Look familiar?
I don't know what you're talking
background?
about. There's no such thing as a smart city. So stop making up stuff. To try to make me look bad. You're really good at this. You make up shit and then you try to make us sound on what's okay. I just told you that there's no such thing as a smart city. We're developing a new piece of land for the state.
Semantics.
What is that?
You like to make up these conspiracies. It's great for you. I know it's good for your brand. I hope it works for you.
That's the guy right in the back. See him?
Mike Maurer.
That is him, yeah.
And then
So
this is the best part.
Our ability to collaborate in ways that other states are not able to. That's the secret sauce. I really believe that. And that's what's going to lead us and allow us to continue to lead the nation in technological advancements, in smart cities, and really, there's no reason we can't be the first smart state as we use these partnerships, as we work together and combine to put those talents, those assets, and those opportunities together in powerful ways.
Seem familiar?
Yeah, very familiar.
Same actors, same gaslighting. And now, of course, he's way more insulated. So when you put him on the spot and smart cities, sanctuary states, they don't exist. They do exist. What's the truth? But they control the narrative.
Yeah, that goes back to what I was saying as far as like they think they can control the narrative, but as soon as you are on YouTube, you can flip that narrative if you can receive more likes and more impressions.
how big's your channel? I know you've got, how many likes, how many views did you get on that video you
Yeah,
did?
that went absolutely viral.
I think that one's at 160,000 on YouTube, and then on Twitter, on X, it got around another 160,000 as well.
Yeah, when that came out, we were so pumped. I mean, that was so awesome.
We've been screaming this from the bleachers for the last year or so, since the ICE memo came out that you were talking about with Trent Staggs. And to call it a sanctuary state is one thing. To go out on the streets and show people, in this state, it's very easy. We have a very global population. When Cox came out and tried to refute that and say, oh, no, the ICE memo is wrong, they actually had a retraction made of the ICE memo, a closed-door meeting, so that they would change the narrative around. So it's easy to say, oh, misinformation, everyone has it wrong. They did a whole email, text, billboard campaign saying, no, we're not a sanctuary state. So then it's easy for the population to believe, oh, we got it wrong, our information is wrong. But what you did is important because you put the context around it and says, okay, what are you going to believe now? We're showing you what's actually rolling out here in Salt Lake City.
Well, I think that's another thing. Is the reason it's important is one of the things Mike Maurer said is he said, even the Deseret News said, right? Didn't he say even the Deseret News said we're not? And I think that's the problem is people look at the Trib and think that's the left. They look at the Trib and think that's the right, the conservative. And if the conservative news says we're not, then surely they're representing the conservatives.
Yeah, and I also think it's very interesting when they say like Desert News or like other news articles, because like I don't even know like anybody that even reads that stuff. Like maybe they're getting like 5,000 readers of an article. Like if 5,000.
Well, the Salt Lake Tribune has already lost all credibility. That might as well be a tabloid at this point with the trash they put out. I don't even know if you can even call them investigative reporters. They're just a mouthpiece of the governor's office.
Yeah, so it's like, how can you really trust these sources? But what you really need to do is you need to like go out and even just drive around here in Utah and you'll see stuff.
So tell us about that. Tell us, you started driving around. How did you find these spots? And tell us a little bit more about what you saw.
Yeah, whenever I do these videos, I always go to like either like for this video I started off in the Capitol, and then from there I got information, and then from there I went down to Pioneer Park where people were at to see and just talk with the people, and then from there they start giving you references, and you just follow what's going on, and then by the end of the day you have like a perfect idea of what's actually happening here in Utah, and if you go anywhere else, that's a strategy I use.
Are you familiar with the furries situation down in Payson right now?
Yeah, I heard about that. That's kind of wild.
Well, the wildest part about that is we've had a show on that actually just came out, and we had our citizen journalists go out and stream and report on it. KSL, first thing they did, they came out and they said, oh, it's not actually furries. It's just kids wearing headbands. And after that, the KSL tried to contact some of the organizers' parents and for a statement to get their side of the story. Well, they couldn't make it work for scheduling. So they prepared a written statement, explained everything. KSL puts out the report and, of course, cites nothing in the statement that the organizers put out, and instead tried to slant the view of, well, maybe the furries are being bullied and maybe they're the victims here.
Yeah, they just always like to flip the narrative and defend the people like the less majority, which is kind of weird. I've never understood why people are defending the people of like a less majority when it should be, if 90% of people are voting for one thing, we should support the 90% instead of the 10%.
More representative. So what stuck out to you the most when you started going out and doing the interviews?
The thing, as far as here in Utah?
Yeah, and seeing the illegals.
Yeah, the Utah migrants, they do have it a lot better than the migrants in other in other states, which is good because like these people are people as well, and they're like, it's not fair that they're being told to come to America and then they get put in horrible situations like the migrants in New York City. So the migrants here, like the government is like kind of like they're helping them to a certain extent, but then they're also letting them try their best to thrive, if that makes any sense. But
what other states have you seen the migrant camps in?
In Denver, in Colorado, Chicago, California, and New York City are the ones that I have been to. In Utah, by far the migrants here have the best.
Which I mean, and that's nice for the migrants, but the flip side of that is who's paying for that.
Yeah, and the shelters here inside Utah, they're obviously like NGOs, and so they're getting funds from the government because there's no way a shelter can make money, so they're getting funded by outside sources, and then the migrants and the homeless people receive food and a shelter from them.
So I don't know, I didn't see it in your video, but one question that I would have loved to ask some of the migrants that you interviewed, they said during the video that they weren't allowed to work or they didn't have permission to work yet.
Yeah.
What are these migrants doing during the day then?
Yeah, if you go to any of the Home Depots, I mean, there's a bunch of people lined up, and the majority of them are just like puttering around all day because they can't work. And so that's what like doesn't make sense is if you're going to let everybody in, why don't you give them a program where they can, I think the first thing every migrant should have to do when they get here is to learn English.
Mm-hmm.
There's no program set in place for these migrants to eventually become thriving citizens. And if they're letting them in, like, why not do something like that where they could actually use them for like to help them and help the society.
But who would pay for that?
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to pay for it. And that's like the crappy thing is like, we're going to have to pay for it either way. And I think the government has proven, like the U.S. just sent over like another $90 billion over to Ukraine. So they've proven like if they want to have money, they can create it and they can give it. And so they could do what they want to do with that, right?
Can I ask you a question more about just you? Because I find your generation is in a very interesting place.
For our viewers, how old are you?
I'm 22.
So you see that so much of the colleges are pushing the LGBT narrative. And the trans, and it just seems to be and the whole, racism and Black Lives Matter, and tearing down the statues. What's your thoughts on what's happening in the country right now with this?
I think it's very like sad to see. I think like the overall like common sense and like morals is just like going away for a lot of people. I just saw a video of some girl in New York City who's at one of the protests, and the interviewer asked her like, "Why are you protesting?" And she like, "I don't know. Like, why are we here?" It's like a lot of these people are just doing stuff. I don't know. Do they not have anything else to do? And they're just causing havoc, and it's not right by any means. So I think like people just need to find like a passion, and they need to find something they want to do to occupy their time instead of getting left into just following the crowd like that one protester there in New York City who had no idea what she was doing.
Did you go to college here in Utah?
Before my mission, I went to I did 2 years of college. I did a year in high school and a year outside of high school, and like I potentially will go back.
Did you see any of that woke ideology creeping into your classrooms before?
Yeah, I mean, I had to write papers on like, there's this one paper, it was so weird. It was like, I was writing a essay about a photo with like naked people and inside the photo while they're like pushing like a plow. I was like, what is going on? Like why am I writing a paper about this? And like I had to.
What kind of class was this?
I don't even know. It was like an art, psychological, like I have no idea. I was just taking these credits to get my associates.
What did I sign up for?
Yeah, and I showed my dad, and he was like, wow, that's weird.
Do you feel like a lot of kids are starting to push back? It's like they've had enough of this, like, woke ideology being pushed on them?
To an extent. However, I feel like people my age at this point in their lives, they don't really feel like they have like the voice to do it, or they don't feel like they're in a spot like financially where they can really like make a statement, because like even me, I have to like somewhat be precautious of what I say because I'm only 22, right? And I don't want to like destroy my future by saying some outlandish thing or because everything revolves around money. And if you're a college student and you're just going to school and you decide to say like, why are we letting all this protest happen? You're going to be the one that gets kicked out of college versus the people that are doing the protesting. So a lot of people just sit back and watch it happen, and they don't want to say anything because they don't want to risk getting kicked out of their own school.
So that's like a real fear for these kids.
Yeah.
A lot of your generation.
Yeah, I believe so.
It's just, it just scares me because, when we had a show just recently with, what's his name from Brazil?
Alan dos Santos.
Basically, he kind of a guy like you. He started a YouTube channel in Brazil back several years ago to challenge the mainstream news narrative and speak truth, freedom, free speech. And basically ended up building his YouTube channel, exploding, and he had more views than he was getting more views than CNN, than all the mainstream media, and he was changing the culture of the country. People are starting to wake up to and say, hey, this is not okay, and fight back against Marxism there. Well, they threatened his family, they threatened his life. He fled to the U.S. He's here now. But one of the things we talked about is, the foundation of tyranny is always built on lies. And whenever you enter a tyrannical government, the first thing they try to do is censor people and make them afraid to speak against the lie. And it's just crazy to hear you talk about this, because to say that, you have friends and people in your generation that see there's a problem, but they know if they're afraid that if they speak up, it could cost them their livelihood.
Yeah.
How un-American? That is not even America.
Yeah, it's sad. It doesn't make sense. And like, even if you look at the history of like the world, even if you go back to the times of Jesus, the person that got prosecuted the most was the person that was speaking up and doing the right thing, right? Even Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King, and people that are doing good and that are standing for the truth, they're the ones that get attacked.
Well, what's neat is you can stand up in ways that doesn't have to necessarily be uncomfortable. What you're doing just by doing street interviews and asking hard questions and being able to communicate with the migrants in a respectful way, you're in a way shaking the apple cart, because you're standing up and fighting against the system by exposing it. Mm-hmm. So I think there are ways that people can still get involved and still push back without having vocally, fear the retaliation that comes if they were to stand up against teachers or parents or community, whatever it might be, where they're getting some of these ideologies shoved down their throats.
Yeah. And I feel like safe doing it. I wouldn't say like I'm just trying to expose people. I'm just more showing the truth of anything. But I also have a fan base that can back me up, right? But if you're just one person versus everybody, it makes it a lot harder for you to get the courage to stand up and speak up to that professor or speak up to that group of people that are doing wrong.
So how did you get here to this point? Because I meet people just today at the gym. I was talking to somebody this morning, and he's very concerned about what's going on in this country, and he knows he wants to speak up, and he knows he should speak up, but he's a little bit scared. He's because of the woke mob coming after him. What advice would you have to the young people out there like you who are concerned? Because let's face it, the American dream is disappearing. The ability to buy a home right now for you guys is like, what happened to starter homes? You look at, it is very concerning. Think about raising our kids in these schools. So your generation is starting to realize, I think for so many generations, we kicked the can down of responsibility to our kids. Starting in the 30s when we passed the 16th and 17th Amendment, let the Federal Reserve take hold. We just kept kicking the can and letting the debt grow and grow and grow. And I think we've kicked that can down to a generation, which is you guys. There's no one left to kick it. And now you guys are stuck with it. And I think that's why I think we have so many young, amazing men and women like you who are starting to stand up. So what advice do you have for the people out there who want to start speaking up? How do they go about doing it? How do they get to where you are?
At the end of the day, you need to know like what's true and what's not true. And then once you know when something's true, you need to like really pursue it and not have the fear of getting attacked. That's one thing, like I always like to do my research, and I like to be well informed, and I like to use as much common sense as I can. And I think common sense is like the most powerful thing that one person can have. And once you understand like, okay, that's not right that a migrant receives more money than a veteran. Like a person that broke into the country illegally, not a migrant.
No, right. There's a very different. Someone who's here illegally.
because so once you know, like, that is like that should not be happening. Like, don't have fear of telling people and showing people, because if nobody does, we're gonna continue to get kicked around, and it's not gonna end up good for anybody.
So first off, be informed, and then what about? I mean, you've got a huge base now. How long did it take you to build that, and how did you do that?
I've been doing it for a long time, but recently I just got back from my mission like 6 months ago, and I only had around 20,000 subscribers when I got home. And then since I've been doing videos that provide a lot more value, I've grown it to about like I'm almost at 90,000 right now.
Wow. And how did you even get to 20? Especially with the lull of what you go on your mission 2 years.
Yeah, I did YouTube for probably 3 years before that, and it took me a year and a half to even get my first 1,000 subscribers. But then I would do more like high school videos, like pranks, or like I was really into like Logan Paul and them, so I would do like sneaking into Logan Paul's wedding or sneaking into Logan Paul's boxing fight, and doing like celebrity pranks or like really big pranks. But like it just wasn't working out. I was getting traction. However, like other big YouTubers, I'd collab with YouTubers who had like 10 million subscribers. They look at my analytics and be like, yeah, this doesn't make sense. Why you aren't getting subscribers?
I think that's a brilliant model. We should take that Logan Paul model and use it on the local politicians and pull pranks on our legislators. Brilliant.
Yeah, that's the best way to gain traction on social media is you have to do a little bit of social hacking. And so that's what I started doing, and that got me up to 27,000 subscribers. And then I went on my mission, and then since I've been home, it's just taken off.
Well, we've tried social hacking, but instead we got hacked instead.
They just hacked us. They don't like it when you expose the governor and then the people around him for what they're doing. They like to be able to keep the world. They like to be able to control the media, Deseret News, and anyone who wants to challenge it. They want to shut us down. So proud of you for doing that.
So you've looked at Denver, you've looked at Chicago, you've looked at California, you've looked at New York City, and you've looked at Salt Lake City. It's like one of these things is not like the other. Those are 4 Democrat-run cities. Utah is a red state. Do you, in your 22 years, does something not add up to you here? I mean, this feels like one thing is not like the other.
The thing with like those other states, New York City, New York, and Chicago, or in Illinois, and all those other ones, they're all Democrats, right? And like you're saying, Utah's a Republican one. And a lot of people I talk to, they're like, well, like the Utah people have big hearts that are letting people in. But with the topic of like the migrants, they're letting people in. And like I think like we in general, like Utah is primarily members of the church, and people like want to help people. However, we can't help what we like. There's just only so many people you can help, and the policies need to change, because at the end of the day, these people's lives are just getting played with here in the United States.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, baby.
I'm just saying, is Utah really a red state? Is Utah really a Republican state, or is that another thing that we're just heading in the direction of becoming blue or mushy purple sometime?
I don't think
soon?
we're becoming blue. I think like the governor is becoming more and more blue the more time he's in there, from what it sounds like, because it sounds like he was voting in as a Republican, right? Mm-hmm. And then his policies sound like they're more liberal than they are Republican.
Huh. Doesn't take an expert
Governor he, him, and pushing the transgender and all the stuff he's pushed. No, you're right. He's been very liberal. Well, I want to start wrapping up here, but what advice do you have for the people here in Utah?
Just stand up for what's right and know what is true, and talk to people about it, and don't be afraid to share your opinion.
Do you think this is going to escalate? We're starting to already hear stories about people being raped and murdered. Maybe not here, but there was a murder in, I believe, Georgia, the Lakeland Riley murder. There was actually here in Salt Lake City a rape with a few Somalian
11-year-old. Oh, 2 of them.
Yeah,
there was 11-year-old in that one.
Do you think we're heading towards a breaking point where there's going to be some sort of inciting incidents or crisis that is inevitable at this point?
I do. Venezuela is the safest it's ever been in the last 10 years. El Salvador is the safest it's ever been. And a large majority of that is because their gang members are coming here to the United States, and every day the cartel is making more and more power here inside the United States as well. I'll speak with like people who have worked with the cartel, and they tell me like the safe houses, the routes, the underground tunnels they have here inside the United States. Like, it's really crazy. And with the people that are in office right now, like, I have like a crazy conspiracy, but I believe like a lot of the cartels are like working with the governors, and I think it'd be a lot more easier for governors or for political people to make money in Mexico than it is here, because they can have bank accounts in other places. And so I think a lot of people are profiting off what's going on. And but safety, as far as safety goes here inside the United States, it's dangerous. You walk around Times Square, and there's more migrants than there are people than Americans inside Times Square right now. And you walk around the outskirts of the hotels, and you see the people with their tattoos of being gang affiliated, and you just hear more and more crimes that are being committed by migrants. And they have laws where literally they protect migrants over the United States citizens, and a migrant will commit a crime, and then 2 days later he'll be released into the streets.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah, and
they don't even deport him. And if they do deport him, like, I could cross over the border so easily. You literally walk over, and you walk over to a camp, and they take you into the migration center. You create a name. You don't even have to bring over a passport or anything. You literally create a name, and then they trust you, and then you're shipped off and dropped off at a bus stop, then taken to anywhere in America you want.
The statistic right now in Utah is 67% of gang members, violent known criminals, are being re-released into the streets of Utah. 67%. And then you add that with the entitlement. There was a video I saw just the other day. Maybe we can pull that up. But in New York City at some of the, I forget what it's called, not town halls. We'll figure it out. We'll play the video. But there in New York City, the migrants are complaining because the accommodations are not good enough. The food is not good enough. The rooms are not good enough. So you add together the violent criminals, the entitlement. It just seems like a breeding ground for a real crisis to erupt.
Oh, yeah. This summer will be chaotic, especially in New York City. And my question is, like, if they're going to buy them flights to go anywhere in the United States, because they're shipping them throughout America, like, why don't they buy them flights back to their country? Like,
exactly.
Like, they're already going to be spending the money. Why don't they spend it to go back to where they're going to go?
I mean, for that matter, why don't they just stop them from coming in the first place?
Yeah.
Because clearly there's an agenda that they want them here. Yeah. And I don't see any way that agenda is good for this country.
Mm-hmm.
And even in your video, there is a gentleman who said that the cartels are getting $500 for each person.
Oh, they're paying the cartel.
Getting up to $5,000 to $20,000 per person.
The cartels.
So the kind of money, the way we're empowering cartels right now is terrifying.
Well, there's stories about the cartel actually owning now territory in the U.S. and the U.S. is unable to do anything about it.
It's incredible.
No, we're headed down some very dangerous roads, and Nick, I appreciate you for exposing it. I want to finish with one quote. It's the one we read last night. I think it's appropriate here because I think this reminds me of you. And this I'll read to our listeners, because honestly, the only way we're going to fix this country isn't by waiting for a governor or a president to come fix it, or the news to wake people up. It has to be you. It has to be great people like Nick. And this actually, Jordan Peterson, he says, 1,000 people. You're going to know more than that over the course of your life. But let's say 1,000 for the sake of argument for now. They know 1,000 people. That means you're one person away from 1 million people and 2 persons away from 1 billion people. And you're the center of that network. And now the way networks work is that information propagates in a network manner. So don't underestimate the power of your speech. Now, Western culture is logocentric. It is predicated on the idea of the logos, that the logo is a sacred element of Western culture. And what does that mean? It means that your capacity for speech is divine. It is a thing that generates order from chaos, and then sometimes turns pathological order into chaos when it has to. Do not underestimate the power of truth. There is nothing more powerful. So, I just think when you were talking, that reminded me, that quote I was reminded of that quote because, you went out and just spent one day doing that video, and that's now reached, tens of thousands of people who are now, hundreds of thousands of people, who are now aware of something that the media, local media, and our governor have been trying to suppress. So, I just want to thank you for what you're doing, and I'll tell you, Utah needs more of you. And anytime you have a story in Utah, we'd love to bring you on here and share that with people, in this state. And just a last call to our listeners. We live in remarkable times, and again, you were sitting here for these times, and I can't think of a better way to fight this corruption than exposing it with the truth. Whether it's starting a YouTube channel, whether it's going out and just videoing like Nick has done, but I would encourage our listeners to get out in the streets, to talk to people, get on social media, beat down the mainstream narrative, at their own game, and stand for truth. So, anyways, thank you for being here, Nick. You're an awesome patriot. You've done more good than you can imagine. And to our listeners, thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. And God bless you guys. God bless America. And God bless Utah.